TG Geeks, episode 197, November 26th, 2018. Tales of the Scary Fractured Kind. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the two gay geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror, genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane, and we're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely, almost vacation time, Phoenix, Arizona.
And I'm Ben Raggington, also coming to you from, well, by the time you hear this, I should be completely stuffed with turkey and still digesting all that yummy, delicious stuff from Thanksgiving dinner here in Phoenix, Arizona.
And let's get on with this show.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, back at the TG Squared Studios.
In this episode, we have an interview with Kevin Glover, who is Fractured Scary Tales is his website, but he's got a new comic with an LGBTQ theme. So we talked to him about that, as well as other things that he's done. We got our birthday shout-outs. We have our featured podcast of the week. We have some feedback in this episode, and we've got vacation and schedule of episodes, contents, and other stuff, as well as a couple of things we're going to talk about. So since we are pre-recording this, we will actually be on vacation. So as well as our follow-up items. So we're going to go right into this interview with Kevin. And this time on the TG Geeks webcast, we have with us Kevin Glover, writer, publisher. We were talking about beforehand, being producer of comic books and a myriad of other media things. So
he wants to be referred to as God.
Yes, there we are. So welcome to the show, Kevin.
Welcome to the show, God.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yes. So the reason that we have you on the show, or one of the many reasons, we happened to talk to you at Phoenix. Well, what used to be Phoenix Comic-Con and whatever it is.
It's a shame they got Comic-Con out of all those titles.
Exactly.
It's Phoenix something.
It's so confusing now.
It's Phoenix. It's a convention, a geeky, nerdy convention in Phoenix now.
That's the name of it.
Anyway, we met you there, or
I met you.
Ben met you there. You were right across from a booth of a bunch of friends of ours, and he was talking to you. And you have a new comic that is about to be released, or has been released by the time we air this. That is specific to something that we're very interested in, since we are the two gay geeks. So tell us what that. Tell us what that is, and then I'm going to backtrack for in just a moment.
Sure. My company, my comic book publishing company called Scary Tales Publishing, and I started off with anthologies, mostly funny anthologies under my Fractured Scary Tales label, and then I did a more serious anthology called Monster Smash-Ups. But I've seen, I wanted to try something a little bit different, and I'm moving into the LGBT community with a new anthology that's right now being called Fabulous Frightmares, and it's classic monsters with an LGBT twist.
Oh, wow.
And so that's kind of the basic premise. The first issue, or first two issues likely, will be anthologies, and then I'm working towards a serialized, maybe two-issue comic in which the characters all interact instead of in standalone stories. There's like one big threat that all the LGBT monsters have to come together and combat.
Oh, that sounds fascinating.
That's definitely a twist.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
When I was right in the middle of conversation, and he
I grabbed you.
runs over and drags me by the shirt literally over to you. You have to talk to this guy. You have to talk to this guy.
Honey, you got to come over here. You need to talk to this man.
Well, I thank you for your enthusiasm. Hopefully, your enthusiasm will spread through the community.
Yeah.
I noticed there's a lot of like horror comics. Well, there's a lot of books out that have a gay sensibilities or lesbian sensibilities, but not many comics. And there's some that have more overtly kind of sexualized stories that you can find in some cons, but not like real legitimate horror stories. They're mostly either going for the titillation of the romantic or sexualized stories, or there are quite a few more. Let's say lesbian-oriented, but a lot of those are male-slanted with just female vampires and things that kind of like each other, not necessarily with a lesbian slant. So I tried to I put some postings out for some writers, especially for the lesbian ones, to give it that. I didn't request that they were lesbian, but just to try to make sure that I had that base covered in a way that was not quite so sexualized, although one of the stories is a little bit more, has not quite erotic, but has some sensual elements to it. I guess this comic would have a PG-13 rating if it were to be on TV, kind of like if you remember the old NYPD Blue, and get a butt shot here and there. So I guess now TV shows everything, so it's like. But if you remember the old NYPD Blue, when it was such a sensation to have a butt shot. Oh, it was
scandalous.
Scandalous. So this one will have not for the kiddies, but not by any means erotic. It's and not all the stories. There's different. There's 5 different stories in all, and they're all classic monsters that have been reimagined. When I originally came up with the concept, I was originally going to start off with a version, an ongoing story, but then I thought I'd first start off with an anthology just to see how it sold, to make sure that there was a sufficient audience for it before I committed to an ongoing story that might take multiple issues. With an anthology, if people like it, fine, they've been satisfied because they're complete stories, but if you start off with an ongoing series and you don't complete it because sales aren't there, you kind of live. It's like a series that you get caught up on with TV, and then it gets canceled after 2 episodes.
Right.
You never know what happened to people.
Yeah, and then you have frustrated fans, and then they become angry.
Right.
So you don't want to do that. Well, I
didn't want to do that. So I thought this was a good opportunity to give some of the stories in terms of an origin story for how the characters, my spin on a classic tale. Like there's And originally I was going to do this, set this in England because everything gets set in England. But as I was coming up with ideas, too much of it seemed too much like Penny Dreadful, the delightful show on Showtime, monster fans, and with very, very strong LGBT themes in that too. So I decided to move it to Paris and do a different pantheon of monsters, more of the. I have a hunchback character. There's and so a werewolf of London. There's a she-wolf of Paris.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. And of course, it seems like France or Paris would be a perfect place for vampires.
Exactly. I do have my favorite story in the book. I wrote several of them, and one of the ones that one I actually co-wrote. It's kind of like a mashup of the Phantom of the Opera with a vampire story called the Vampire of the Opera. And with the thanks. And the artist just for that one was super, super good. I got very, very fortunate with all the artists, but that one in particularly. It's the longest story in the book, and it's delightful. In fact, almost all the art I'm very, very proud of. Each story is illustrated by different artists, so you get a different feel for them. And one of the stories is rather campy. It's the Groom of Frankenstein.
Oh, you have to have a campy story. I mean,
Well,
you
that's
just have
brilliant.
to.
Exactly. And so that one's got a more campy tone, and then there is a kind of I try to think of a trans character. So I made my Dr. Jekyll character. It's Sister Jekyll and Monsieur Hyde. So
Wow.
it's a nun who's part of this Sisters of Supernatural Inquiry. They kind of specialize in looking into affairs of supernatural nature, who takes this potion that turns her into this woman-hating man. So it's kind of a twist on a male sort
Transgender?
of situation.
Right.
Transgender. Thank you.
Yeah.
For some reason, that word just
Escaped
couldn't
you.
come
Yeah,
out of my
I know.
brain.
I hate when that happens. It's like, I'm getting so old, I'm losing words. It's like, oh my God.
My dictionary is getting
My
smaller.
T's. What's that? That's the T in my LGBT. And
Yeah.
so and I suddenly lost the T. So there you go.
Well, that sounds fascinating. I'm really excited about this. This
very
is,
much, I'd very much like to see this. So, how long have you been working on this project?
Well, actually, when I talked to you guys at the show, I was just started writing a few of the stories, and I had one of them. The art was already done, and then I had trouble finding some artists that were willing to do some of the, especially with some guys kissing and stuff. Some people just didn't feel comfortable with that, which is kind of sad. You think artistic community people are more open-minded to certain things, but several didn't want to do it, and so I kept trying to find people that had a style that I liked, that were comfortable with it. There seemed to be no shortage of people that didn't mind girls kissing girls, but
yeah.
Yeah, there's a greater social acceptability on that one for some reason.
yeah. And so then I hit up some people that did some of the more erotic stuff to see if some of them wanted to do things a little bit more tame. But most of them liked to stay in the more erotic realm. They didn't really want to do, or at least the ones I contacted, they weren't really interested in the more tame stuff. So, but I've succeeded finally in finding enough people that it's taken forever to get all the stories. I'm glad there's only 5 of them in the book, of various lengths. I think the shortest one is 6 pages, and I think the longest one is 10 pages. So it's a 40-page book,
Wow.
And a full-size magazine style, like the old creepy and eerie. Most of my anthologies, well, so far all my anthologies are black and white, oversized comics, so you get a feel of the kind of old school monster magazines of yesterday.
Right.
And they all have kind of a twist ending, so that's always kind of fun. And I'm just really pleased with how the stories came out and how the artwork came out.
That's cool. So tell us, how did you get into the comics realm?
Yeah, how did you
Because,
get into this industry?
And then we'll even go back further and talk about some of your other stuff that you've done. But
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I've been writing forever since I was a kid, and I wrote some spec TV scripts that I didn't know what I was doing back then. I sent it off to TV shows, and months later we'd get back and they wouldn't open it because I didn't know you had to have an agent and all this stuff. But I also was really big into comics. When I was a kid, I really loved the oversized monster comics, and I tried to emulate that, tried to do both the story and art, but I never really developed any artistic skills in that way. But I thought I could write a story pretty good. But then I started getting more into film and TV production as I got older, and was writing spec scripts, and produced some low-budget movies, and I had a lot of things going on. I kind of gave up comics for a while, and then I kind of had a series of setbacks that I just kind of dropped out of the business for a little bit, and then I was at a Comic-Con listening to somebody speak about how their successes all came from having a successful comic book launched. So I sat there and I thought, you know what, I should get back into this, and it's kind of an easy way to, like when you're a producer of a low-budget movie, even in today's age when there's equipment and everything that's so much more economically available to you for high-quality imagery than what there ever was. Everything is much more of a democratic playing field now than it ever was to get the kids can play with the same gear or the same level of quality gear that professionals use, and so the playing field has opened up tremendously in the video market. But even a cheap video costs a lot of money compared to what it costs to produce a comic book, and so to hire an art and get the comic out there. So it was a good way for me to experiment. I get some writing out there that I hadn't done in a while, and see how people responded to it. And my first comic was an anthology called Fractured Scary Tales. In fact, my website is fracturedscarytales.com, and that was successful enough that I did a series of other issues of that. At first, I thought it was a kind of a one-trick pony idea because they were all parodies of movies with a horror spin. Things like Good, the Bad, the Ugly becomes Good, the Bad, the Undead. Of the Were-Apes, Maltese Frankenstein. So I was taking these classic movie ideas and putting a horror spin on them and making people chuckle just like you guys did. And so now I'm up to issue 6 on that. But in the interim, I wanted to branch out into some other areas of, seeing kids come to my booth originally I felt bad. They kind of wanted to read the Fractured Scary Tales because they thought the covers looked cool. But some of the stories were a little bit gory. They weren't sexy at all or even vulgar, but just a little bit gory by kid standards. Something I would have liked when I was a kid, but not necessarily every parent wanted a kid to look at. So I launched my kid-friendly series called Supered Up Monster Kids, which has been very successful for me.
Yeah, the cover looks great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I really like. I got really lucky with that artist. He's actually from Egypt, and that is called, and it's kind of like a Teen Titans Transylvania style.
Right.
I'm up to issue 6 of that as well, and that one's full color, traditional kind of comic book style, as opposed to the black and white oversized of the anthologies. And then most recently, seeing that I kind of committed to the kid thing, I decided to do something more adult and did my Lady Frankenstein title.
Yeah, I'm looking at that one right now, and I kid you not, this takes me back because I remember back, in the early to mid '70s, comics were sort of going through a bit of a dark age. They weren't really popular. Superheroes weren't really the thing. So a lot of artists they were kind of going into horror. And,
exactly.
And I'm looking at the artwork here, and this really takes me back to that. Well, it's a very gothic, scary monster horror kind of thing. And I remember as an early teen reading some of this and kind of freaking out a little bit. And I look at the artwork on that, and it takes me back right away. I mean, that's really impressive stuff there.
Well, thank you. I'm couldn't be more proud of a comic than that one. It really. I got so lucky. It was one of the early artists I used on my anthologies that always delivered really good. And I was so happy he came through on that, and the coloring, and I had it printed on this age paper to give it a real retro vibe, and then even the coloring is kind of muted, and it just and I love the story. It was an adaptation of a screenplay I wrote like 10 years ago that was optioned a few times. It's kind of a mashup between a mummy and Frankenstein, with a female Frankenstein character who gets hired by these Egyptian consortium to transplant the brain of this ancient mummy. So it's kind of has a Hammer-esque feeling to it, but it's kind of treading on new ground, a more modern version of a mummy. And I really like the story, and so seeing it now in comic form, the 3rd issue will be out in about a few more weeks, probably by the time this airs. Issue 3 will be out already at my website if people want to get it there or see me at a convention. And that one I'm really proud of. And now I've got this brand new title, this Fabulous Frightmares, and which kind of makes me come full circle and lets me ultimately, I'd like to do a more serialized color version of the characters in this story in at least a 2 or 3 part arc story. But I know since many people see me at conventions and things, it's hard for them to commit to a serialized version. When an anthology makes it more complete, they can buy one and know they don't have to buy another comic to see what's going on.
Right. So, yeah, there's... what was I going to say?
I'm sorry if I'm talking on too much.
That's all right. I lost my train. I was looking at something else, and then my train of thought just went completely gone. When you said that you were a screenwriter, and tell us about that. You've done a couple of films, and you had. How did you grow up into the horror genre, shall we say? We talked about that before. Before we're doing the interview, but it's kind of neat to hear that story.
Right. Well, I've been always interested in monsters since as far back as I can remember. I loved the classic Universal monsters. I loved King Kong. I loved all the oldies, and then I discovered the Hammer films, and I really, really love those, and I have a fondness for them, and also some of the dark, humorous things of like the Rodriguez and like the
the Grindhouse.
Yes, yeah. I love Planet Terror. That his zombie kind of funny zombie thing. The injection of humor and horror really works for me. Some people have a tendency to go overboard with the too much comedy, but he really had with the Planet Terror especially, he hit all the buttons just right to me, and I really love the level of gore and blood and the humorous aspects of it, and so I try in all my work to inject a certain amount of humor in almost everything, just because I think it lightens some of the horror a little bit, but also makes something horrific that happens later. It kind of gives you that kind of roller coaster effect where you're just laughing and then suddenly you're scared again, and it's like, oh wow, I don't know what to feel. So,
right.
But my earliest success as when I was born out here in Los Angeles, but when I was trying to be successful in Hollywood, I created this. I wrote something originally as a stage play called Love Bites, which was about a gay vampire romance between the vampire and a vampire hunter. And originally it was going to be a stage play, but then I decided when I found out what it was going to cost to mount it as a play, if I financed it myself, it was cheaper to maybe do a video version of it or a movie version, but I shot it on tape. I couldn't afford to shoot it on film. And it became quite successful little cult movie for me. It's called Love Bites, and a lot of people I've gotten a lot of praise for it, and a lot of people said it was one of the first gay movies they ever saw, and so that was kind of exciting. And so this latest thing that my fabulous frightening colleague harkens back to my earliest effort with that. My very first successful project was this Love Bites, that then led to me producing a movie called Venus Flytrap, which is kind of a cult horror film. Yeah. And then I did a movie I didn't write, and called that I just was a line producer on, which was called Dinosaur Valley Girls, which is a more of a TNA comedy adventure story, not really horrific, but it's the same kind of fantasy vibe, and there's certainly not any LGBT elements in it, but it was my biggest success of anything I've done. It played on USA Cable. It played had pretty good video sales and things. At least more so than more of my more gay oriented projects were selling at the time.
Yeah, I just have to say, I looked at the IMDb entry for Love Bites.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now too.
And the runtime is, wait for it, 69 minutes.
Yeah, ba-dum-bum.
Imagine that.
Oh my.
I had to trim the credits to get it to roll that
I'll bet
far.
you did.
I see. So it was not just a coincidence then.
There's lots of editing going on there.
Exactly.
That's great.
Well, if you look that up, if you see the copy of the cover, you see a much younger version of me. I cast is when I was trying to be an actor too, and I cast myself as a lead
Yeah.
in the
So
thing.
I'm really excited about the fabulous Frightmares. Hopefully, we can come down to Tucson for that entry, but well, I don't know.
Early Tucson, early weekend November, might be difficult.
I think we get overbooked sometimes,
Unfortunately.
and
It's tough with all these. Fortunately, later in the year, the Novembers and Decembers, there's fewer cons, so there's fewer conflicts. But earlier in the year, there's so many times I'm trying to decide which con do I want to go to try to.
right.
Especially when you have two successful cons that end up the following year to be competing with each other on different weekends.
Exactly,
Right.
and that's not
Always
good.
frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good at all.
So with all of this, I mean, and boy, you've got a lot on your plate, no question about it. For people who want to learn more about Scary Tales Publishing, you already gave the URL, but you might want to give it one more time. Where can they find out all about you and all about Scary Tales Publishing and everything that you're putting out there?
That's right, at fracturedscarytales.com, and then there's a link on there to my other website. I have one called screamwriter4hire.com. That's for people that want to hire me to write something, but mostly I use it as kind of a bio page. It doesn't get nearly as updated as my Fractured Scary Tales one. That's kind of where I'm most active. Then I also have a Facebook page of Fractured Scary Tales on Facebook. And I just recently at a convention from Phoenix had a young man offer to help me get my Instagram together, and that's I believe it's under Fractured Scary Tales as well, but I need to verify that. And he's after me to get some more updated photos on there, so I've got to get that together. So probably by the time you guys air this, maybe it'll all be live.
Yes, you do have Fractured Scary Tales on Instagram. I just confirmed it.
Excellent. Oh, good. There we have verification. You know, I'm so not a social media nerd that I'm so behind the eight ball on figuring some of this stuff out, or having an interest to go to it. I still can't imagine why people want to like anything on Facebook. It's like, why does anybody care? But it's just so important. So I urge all your listeners to please like me. I feel like I'm begging for acceptance, but.
Oh, we do that every week.
Yeah. Yeah, we have no shame.
Get those numbers up.
Exactly.
Well, I hear that your the progress of your website's doing very well, so that's very good. So I've got to ride on your coattails a little bit, see if I can bump the presence of my site.
Well, hopefully
We're
we
hoping
can,
that maybe talking to you will bump our numbers up.
Exactly. So,
well, good. Well, thank you.
Thank you for being on the show this time. Kevin Glover,
really appreciate
writer and publisher of wonderful comics.
Thank you very much.
Hey, it's America's sweetheart, Brian Augustine, comic legend and bon vivant, and you're listening to The Two Gay Geeks.
And here are a few selected birthdays for November 26th through December 2nd, 2018. November 26th, Tina Turner. Charles Schultz of...
Created the Peanuts.
Yeah, Peanuts. Yeah. Peanuts and Charlie Brown and all of that. We went to that museum
I want to say
San Francisco.
Petaluma, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but it was somewhere in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. And also on November 26th, St. Francis of Assisi and John McVie.
Bass player of Fleetwood Mac.
And Robert Goulet.
Oh, I am definitely in the mood for a Cajun Christmas.
Old-time Cajun Christmas.
Cajun Christmas, yeah. With a crock coming right up behind you.
Yeah. Also, Buffy Linder.
Happy birthday, Buffy.
Scott Linder's wife, and happy birthday. November 27th, Bill Nye.
Who we quite accidentally got to see at the Neil deGrasse Tyson talk.
And
Chimed in on Spike. Spike.
On Spike. Yes.
Skype.
Skype. Yeah, and he was actually was expecting an hour later that I think Neil forgot that
we had
don't
an hour.
change time.
We
He was
don't
thinking,
change time.
Yeah.
So,
And Bruce Lee on November 27th, and Charles H. Beard.
I think they named an award after him.
Yeah. Oh, nope, that's wrong. It's James Beard. James Beard. So I had the wrong thing too.
Did you really?
You ruined my joke.
Oh dear.
I was hoping you was going to say who, and I was going to say, that guy about the restaurant award. Oh, that's James Beard.
That's James Beard. Oh. Oops.
Dang it. November 28th, Randy Newman and Linda Reese, who's we talked to her on an interview. She had that little short headed. Oh, shoot.
Oh boy.
What was it? Shoot. About the cat. Guy taking his cat.
That one.
I can't remember the name.
That was
Sorry, Linda.
so sad.
Yeah, happy birthday, anyway. November 29th, Chadwick Boseman.
Black Panther.
Don Cheadle.
Okay. Oh God. Shoot.
Road Warrior.
Not Road Warrior.
No.
Iron Patriot.
Iron Patriot. There we go. Iron Warrior. The Warrior Patriot.
It's James Rhodey. Rhodey is what?
Right there.
James Rhodes.
Road Warrior. Yeah. That's how I got
Yeah,
Road
James
Warrior.
Road Warrior. James Iron Patriot Road Warrior.
There we go.
How many ways can we mess this up?
As many as we possibly can.
Yeah, just give us the time, we'll do it.
Exactly. November 29th also is Gaetano Donizetti, famed opera composer. Wrote quite a few really interesting operas. And good friend Michael Cohen, Douglas Kinsman, and Jessica Marino.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
November 30th, Samuel Clemens.
A.K.A. Mark Twain.
Yep. Billy Idol, who actually just the other day became an American citizen.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah. Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's Randolph Scott.
Randolph Scott, yes. Also on November 30th, Shirley Chisholm. She was an incredible woman. I mean, she was a woman of color, and she was in politics. In 1971, she formed the Democratic or the Black Democratic Caucus, and in 1972 she ran for president.
Oh wow! Oh, I seem to remember something about that.
Yeah, she won. She got more delegate votes than was expected, but she was a trooper, and the reason she did it is because to prove that anything can happen.
Right.
November 30th also Rob Bateman, a friend from work, and December 1st. Matthew Shepard.
Not much to say about that.
Yeah. And Treat Williams. Also a good friend of ours, Aaron Blunt.
Happy birthday, Aaron.
December 2nd, Maria Callas. And
legendary soprano.
Legendary soprano. And Britney Spears.
Not a legendary soprano.
Yeah. A not so legendary soprano.
No.
Anyway, that's it for the birthdays this time.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad? Not me, that's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a parked domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
Go give a listen to our friends Chuck and Craig over at Technorama. Technorama.
Rama.
And now it's time. We got a little bit of this going on.
Quite a bit, in fact.
Yeah.
Kind of playing a bit of a catch-up here with all the feedback that we've accumulated, so let me get right into it. Starting off with, Andrea Richoff gave us a review for the movie The Happy Prince, how she called it faithful and passionate. And we got a comment from Hamish Downey who says, I'm really excited to see this now. And then we did a little article about our visit to the Magic Castle, and we got a comment from Dottie Crone. She left this on our website. She said, really enjoyed your article, so glad you were able to experience it. And then we had a little press release about how the Two Gay Geeks are among the finalists for the 2018 Parsec Award, and we got a comment from Maurice Haimes, who did the movie Chimera, and he left this comment on Twitter, and he says, wishing you all the best. And then we had a 3-episode thoughts about the TV series Magnum P.I. from Jeannie Koch. And we got a comment from Hamish again. He says, I feel this explains why Tom Selleck was the first choice for Indy Jones. And for people who don't know, Tom Selleck was actually the first choice for Indiana Jones over Harrison Ford. And then Jeannie Koch had a reply to that. She says, to me it does, yeah. He remains charming and charismatic on screen all these years later, too. And then I got a comment on Instagram in regards to our episode 190, and this is from my oldest friend, Corey Nelson. She says, we are enjoying the light nature of the show needed these days. Yeah, this has just been a crummy year or crummy end of the year for a lot of people, and everybody's like, we need the levity. And then this I thought was very interesting. I did a little retrospective on the TV series Space 1999, or what I called a retrospective, or what happened in Season 2. And we got a comment on Twitter from somebody called Cupcakes and Anxiety. And she simply wrote this comment, when a photo of your uncle appears in your Twitter feed. Now, I couldn't leave that alone, so I responded to her and I said, Uncle? And she wrote back and she says, Nick, a.k.a. Alan Carter, the character Alan Carter. So, wow, I had no idea. I thought that was really cool. So, coolness. And then lastly, we got a comment on episode 191. Just a couple of thank yous. First from Barbara Dillon and then Neil Halford, where they both simply say thank you so much, and it's because we gave them shout-outs. And that is our feedback for this episode.
And you can leave feedback for us almost anywhere. We welcome your feedback. We welcome your comments on our Facebook page, on our episodes, on any article that we run, on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Wherever you find us, you can leave us a comment, and we will give you a shout-out on a future episode. You can also even call us at 469-TG-GEEKS. That's 469-844-3357. Leave us a voicemail, and we'll play it on air.
I miss the voicemails.
I do too.
I like those.
Yeah.
Please, people.
And always remember, in your comments, please play nice.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
Okay, I want to start off this second segment. We had the pleasure of seeing a press screening weeks ago for Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, wrote a review for that, and that got published well before the movie came out. But the movie's out now. So there's no embargo. So now we can sort of talk about it, but we want to give everybody plenty of time. So we're not going to go too spoilery on any of the details.
No.
But for anybody who's read the review will know that I did not think that highly of it. It felt like lots of theme and variations. Let's paint by numbers. I mean, while they introduced a lot of new story, I don't want to say story ideas, but just new gimmicks, everything felt basically a rehash.
Yeah, it was Ralph being this big, oversized Mr. Wreck-It. He wrecks something, and then there's
a fallout.
Yeah,
and that's essentially
it's always
it.
Comedic fallout, and so I mean there were some cute gags, but a lot of the same gags and virtually the same story.
It was virtually the same story. I mean, there were some fantastic gags. I can't help but wonder if when the writers were making this movie, they thought, oh, wouldn't it be great if, and they come up with a gimmick. And that is Ralph is out there in the internet, and then it all became about memes.
Yeah. It was
essentially. I mean, this was a meme movie.
It was a meme movie.
Yeah.
Mean movie.
Ha ha ha. Yeah, ha ha. And not a me movie, but a meme movie. It was all about just, okay, so how does Ralph respond to seeing lots of, cat videos or things like that? Yeah, I mean, it was all that.
Yeah, it was, and there was all the internet stops and all of the ways that you can mess up a name of an internet conglomerate and all of that kind of thing. So,
I mean, it
was okay.
It's okay, and I will say, I think
it wasn't horrible.
No, I think the jokes were great, and some of them were just downright hilariously funny. Yeah. But that's about it. It's like all the icing, but you don't have the cake on, that the icing has to go on top of.
Yeah, and I was a little disappointed in the resolution because there was a much better resolution that could have been made to that film.
I remember you telling me when the lights came up, and I mean, it could have worked, but I think what happened is the writers, again, they had their idea of a message, and that was the only way they could make that message work. The problem is it did not have enough substance to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they should have gone a completely different direction. So, I mean...
It was interesting.
I would say that when we were exiting the theater and we were meeting up with the marketing people at Fingerpaint, and everybody's giving their comments, I was like the only naysayer.
We're always in the minority on films, though. So,
I think
it doesn't matter whether if everybody likes it, we don't like it. If everybody doesn't like it, we do like it.
Well, I will say this: when we saw Suspiria, everybody there agreed with us.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily now that the movie is available and anybody can go see it, but everybody who was at the press screening said it's pretty much the same thing. So it was nice to actually be in the majority on that one. But this one, clearly the minority. Everybody loved it. I was the only one who kind of gave it. Ugh.
Yeah.
But, hey, see it for yourself. If you just want to see a movie that's got some really, really great gags and you want to go for a good laugh and a movie that's essentially harmless, check it out. I mean, that movie is all of that.
It's a fun ride, Just don't go in with any expectations of...
I don't expect a Pixar.
Yeah, and... Yeah, it's not a sequel. It's really as kind of a standalone film.
It should be. Actually, this should have been a short.
Yeah,
I think so. But it's not like a Pixar film where each sequel successfully gets better because they really know how to come up with a very meaty story. This one didn't do that. So, but that's our thoughts. And anybody who's gone to see it, and if you liked it, please tell us why. I mean, there's no wrong answers, but as just be cool about it. But if you liked it, hey, I'd like to know what was about the movie that you did like. Maybe you can point something out to us that we missed.
Exactly. And, of course, everybody knows that we are on vacation right now. We're taking a break. We do have content every day. We're going to have an episode every Monday as we continue on, but we're taking a much-needed break from the show and from the website. We're into our holiday posting, so virtually everything that's going to be posted
a holiday
on
theme.
Some of it very loosely associated with the holidays.
Oh, in some cases, controversial.
Exactly. And I told all of our contributors, including ourselves, that if there's something that has a holiday theme, the stranger the better. I mean, you just wrote your...
oh, dear God. No, I'm not going to tell people what it is. No, let people see it when it posts.
There's a couple of things that are really out there, so please check it out. And also in January, we're going to hopefully have a new theme on the website, kind of change things around to make it a little better. And
New year, new theme.
yeah, new year, new theme, new us.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of it.
Yeah, just stay with us. Like I said, or like Keith said, there's going to be a lot of really interesting things that are going to be posted. Some of it very silly, some of it kind of, oh, isn't that sweet? But yeah, we'll have a lot of stuff going every day while we are on vacation. So have no fear, the two gay geeks are
checking
still
it out.
here.
Yep.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
We play this in every episode because suicide has become, I think, the 5th leading cause of death in the U.S.
I know, it's utterly tragic.
If you are in crisis or you know somebody that's in crisis, please reach out. I mean, sometimes, and if you know somebody that's in crisis or has been in crisis before, just reach out. Don't put any expectations on them.
No, just let them know that you're thinking
Let
about
them know you're thinking about them. It can make a difference.
Wow. That was epic. I was watching you as you were manipulating that, and I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Is he doing finger paint art on the iPad?
I was trying to find my sound.
God, that was awesome to watch.
I was trying to find my record scratch sound.
I was about
it
to-
was like, hold it. And then I was using the wrong hands in the wrong order. It's like, I'm going to mess this up.
You know, you reminded me of Tony Stark when he's doing, those 3D tech holographic displays. It's like, wow, the way you were manipulating that, I was ready to start filming it and put it on Facebook. It was epic.
Well, this is normally our weekly review section, but we really don't know because we haven't scheduled all the content. We've kind of got it all in there, but we have no idea
where it's all going.
Oh, God, no. So don't have no idea on this weekly review. So just check our website.
Daily.
There's lots of stuff, as we said. And now we've always got some follow-up items. Check out the widgets on the side of the page. There's a number of books and causes we support. Several books that, you really should read. Beth Cato's books, Katie Edwards' books. I mean, Jeannie Koch's books. Lots of stuff there. Check them out. And we are supporters of Arizona Opera and hope that you will be too. The season has started. Check out azopera.org. In January is La Traviata.
Oh, yeah.
It's a wonderful piece of music, wonderful opera. It's based on Lady of the Camellias, which the movie Camille was about. So check it out. It's a great ride.
Opera composed by Joe Green.
Yes. Giuseppe Verdi.
Giuseppe Verdi.
Yes. Check out our restaurant reviews. It's a new category. We're going to have, we got several restaurant reviews there. Hopefully we'll have a new one here that we had breakfast at this morning.
Yes,
So,
a second look.
a second look.
At a familiar place.
Yeah. And everybody knows we're huge supporters of independent creators, whether it's filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, or others.
As demonstrated by our conversation with Kevin.
Absolutely. We actually went down to Tucson the week after we recorded that
interview with him. Yeah.
And met him in person again. And so it was kind of fun.
Bought a couple of things.
Yeah. Because I wanted a couple of his things. I wanted to see them
and does it, not to go off topic, but doesn't that artwork really throw back to like the oh man, I was just geeking out. It's
great stuff.
Beautiful work.
Yeah. So if you happen to see independent creators, whether comic book artists or artists or writers or whatever that are selling their stuff at cons, at book fairs, etc., please buy their stuff
with cash.
With cash. Take cash with you. They don't need the extra credit card
No,
stuff.
they don't need to be paying those fees back to the organization.
All of that stuff is out of their pocket.
Right.
So, and if you can't afford to buy something, please tell people about it. Comment on their websites, comment on their stuff, Please support independent creators.
Special shout out to Doctor Who Talking Who on Twitter. You can find them by searching at Talking Who. They publish the Doctor Who Fancast Guide, which republishes much of our own content. And we thank them for that. Also, there is Michael C. Burgess on Twitter. You can find him by searching at Byronic, Byronik, and he has the Byronic Semi-Diurnal Aggregator that also republishes our content. And then there is the human Arkle. Ryan Weber on Twitter, he is at Arkle, Arkle, and he also puts out the Arkle Times Post Dispatch News, which also republishes much of our own content daily. We thank all of them for that. And speaking of Arkle, if you go to YouTube and look up Arkle Studios, you can find his shameless cash grab. Check it out. He's got some fun things planned for this coming season. And then we have to give a shout out, as always, to the Facebook group, The Gay Geek, for allowing us to post not just our episodes, but any relevant articles or content there. Special thanks go out to Jeremiah Reeves. He is their high moderator for allowing us to post our content there. And you can find them by searching facebook.com/groups/The Gay Geek. It is a private group, so if you wish to check it out, you'll need to sign up for it, but all are welcome.
Yeah, and thank you to everybody that has clicked on our Amazon ads. You find those at the right-hand side and at the bottom of each page of each article, each episode. If you want to buy something from Amazon, use one of our search ads. We get a little bit of a kickback. It also shows that we get a little traffic from us. The unfortunate thing is that all the books that we have on there, we don't get anything. So it's just kind of a service for our
or doing it for the people we support.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And lastly, we are now on Spotify. Check us out on Krypton Radio as well on 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesdays. Please rate us and review us on iTunes. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Up next time, we have...
Cheshire Moon?
No, we have the El Salomons.
The El Salomons are next.
Yeah,
that was... No, man, another mind-blower.
Fun interview.
Another mind-blower. I mean, wow, you'll understand. We attract some of the most interesting guests with the most colorful backgrounds.
Exactly.
And El Salomons is no exception.
Check it out. All right, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We're going to have several links on the page of things that we talked about, and as well as just all kinds of other information. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Peace.
Cheers.